First of all, before we start, thank you for those who have subscribed. Welcome aboard. Thank you for tuning in to each one of our episodes here on Cuticast TV and Man with the Show. It is you, the viewer, the ones who are watching this, are the ones who are keeping us alive and well, strengthening us every day. Pass these videos on, person to person, comment, like, support, share. Always very important with this because YouTube, they don't assist us anymore. And you, the viewer, are the ones that are keeping us going day in and day out. Well, let me tell you something. You know, Disney has been running into a lot of problems. We're about a month away, less than a month away to the Disney Plus subscription site opening up. But they're having problems at their theme parks still. I mean, major problems. We've discussed this before. Galaxy's Edge has been a big failure. You have the secondary ride, the Rise of the Resistance ride is still not online, having a lot of problems. There's even a new rumor that I'm not certain if it's the Disneyland one or if it's the one in Orlando. But they said something about the tracks or system being built upside down. We don't know. We can't confirm that or anything like that. But we're hearing that has happened. Low attendance. I mean, you could talk to some of the travel agent companies, and they said, especially Florida. They said the bookings are low. They've just built a big. In Orlando, a big Riviera, what they call the Riviera Hotel, and the bookings are atrocious. So where they're having a fire sale now, it's like 40% off bookings at this hotel. You had a major fight at the California park. You have other issues that have been going on, and then now, after a week that it's been open, the Disney Skylander has sort of crashed or something has happened. This happened over the weekend. It took 3 hours to evacuate, over 3 hours to evacuate everybody from the Skylander. If you have not seen this, it's basically Disney has built a Skylander to help, and this is in the Orlando park, to help with the traffic. As far as that, to go to Galaxy's Edge and stuff like that, and including the new Riviera Hotel. That's what was one of the perks for the new Riviera Hotel, was that basically you had gondola service from the hotel to the theme parks. Curious that the crash happened supposedly at the center where you get off for the hotel. Even though I don't think the hotel is 100% open as of yet. But, you had all these people stuck on these gondolas. There's no air. In fact, the worst part is there's no air conditioning. Even though it's October, it's still very humid. I lived in down that way, and it's still humid straight through into November. And, to be stuck up and above, especially at night, on a humid night, no air conditioning, very minimal water, because they had an emergency package which has like 2 bottles of water, couple things on there, and you're stuck up there for at least 3 hours. I mean, that just like really, you're sweating it out. I mean, an elderly person, that could be harmful. Thank God nobody got hurt. As far as we know, the Skylander is still down. I mean, there was reports that said one side was reopening or something like that. But as far as what, from information that I have gotten from down south, basically it's still down and they're still investigating what happened. I mean, literally from the pictures, it looks like it was some sort of hang up at one of the loading stations, and basically caused just a domino effect all the way down the line, shutting everything down. I mean, the Skylander was a good idea. I mean, they tested this for quite some time, and you kind of figure it on there. But what is going on over at Disney? They're having so many problems. I think there's too much of rushing on this, not enough concentration on what has to be done. I think the investors need to step in now and ask for answers from the current CEO of the company. Why is this happening? Why are we losing money at the theme parks, hotels? Is this going to happen to the Disney Plus side? I mean, so much money is popped into this company, and investors are, they're trying to make their 2 cents off the stock, but that's going to start hurting soon. It's going to really start hurting soon. I mean, some reports were saying that the gondolas failed because there was a power failure somewhere in the line, but still, we don't have an answer to that. I mean, with all the problems with Galaxy's Edge, the gondolas, hotels, the increase in pricing, right now Epcot is going through a rebuild, a full rebuild right now. Is everything they're going to put into Epcot going to be working properly? I mean, you have to ask those questions right now, because basically, they're doing a retrofit, and then, you have the Tron coaster coming. Is that going to work properly? I mean, we're talking something that's going to be moving at a very high speed. I'm saying at this point, I'm knocking on wood. I hope nothing happens to this situation, but I would have to say they would, before they go online, they need to inspect, the construction. They need to inspect, when they go online. They need to really do diligence to this, even if they have to pay a third-party outside firm to make sure that the safety features are working, that that there won't be any problems with this coaster, and anything else that they open. I mean, you're spending millions, and you got one ride on two different parks, East and West Coast, that is still not operating and probably won't be operating till next year. I mean, I am surprised investors are not screaming so far about this. And then, we're not even talking about even the SEC investigation, which is probably going to be coming through, that basically Disney has cooked the books. The situation, there are accusations of that. There's accusations from the Disney family of basically that the company's not treating their employees well. I mean, there's so many things that are going on at the Disney parks. Where are we going to get a definitive answer for most of these problems? I have to say that, here we are in a danger point. This is a point where we have to say we need to be careful, we need to be vigilant, and like I said, if you have to have a third party come in to handle some of this stuff, do it. Because if there's something truly wrong on some of these rides, and some of these transportation hubs, you're going to need to shut them down, figure out what the problem is, and repair it properly. I mean, I've heard stories before, where they've had problems with the old gondolas before. They've had problems on the trams, before on there. I mean, that's where they should have, spent the money on the trams. Those things have been around for the longest time, and especially in Disney World. See, the problem is with Disney World versus Disneyland. Disneyland is very small. There's some jokes that Disneyland can fit into the parking lot of Disney World. Disney World is literally a world in itself. If you've never been there, truly, you've never seen this. Basically, transportation is very important there. And, using the monorail, using the buses, using the ferries, and then, now they had the gondolas. I mean, they should have spent more money on the monorails, getting them back up to par. They were pretty, when I used them, they were pretty good and fast, to get around everywhere. The buses, they did their, ways, but, buses get into situations, you get into traffic jams, going back and forth between the parks. But, now you have more stuff that you're building, and you're going to have an increase in that area. I know some people have been saying, I know like Clownfish TV says, don't stay in the hotels in the park, stay outside. International Drive, that's one thing when I used to go down there, I didn't stay in the parks. I stayed on International Drive because there were plenty of ways to get to the parks there and to every other attraction. If you're not familiar with International Drive is I-5. It is a long 2 to 3 mile stretch. In fact, the other side is Universal Studios, which is on Kirkman. Basically, you have hotels, restaurants, attractions. Used to have Wet and Wild. It was there. I mean, when I used to go many years ago, there's a McDonald's there. I don't know if it's still there. I used to call Mickey D's, and it had an unusual menu. You were able to get stuff off the menus that you were able to get the McRib. You were able to get the McPizza and stuff like that. I mean, they had an extensive menu at this place, and let me tell you something. As far as the taste goes, I think it was about the best McDonald's I've ever tasted on there, as far as all the others, because it was banked differently for that territory. And like I said, there was many different restaurants, attractions. I know that last time I was there, Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum was there. As far as the transportation, there was plenty of transportation. You wanted to go to downtown Orlando, there was buses going down there. If you wanted to go to Disney, there were plenty of ways. There were plenty of either free or, you paid a couple bucks, to go into Disney, SeaWorld, any of the attractions. You were able to get anywhere from I-5. And I know people have been talking about it, that basically maybe it's better to stay on the outside once again. A lot of these hotels were really good. I used to say, what was it? The High Q, which was the Quality Inn. I think Howard Johnson's took it over. I don't know if it's still there. It was a giant tower that, was rounded. Great hotel to stay on there. And then they had one called the Low Q, which when I had moved down there, I was staying at the Low Q, which was inexpensive, really nice. It was something like, oh God, 30 after my discount was ended up to be $25-30 a night, which was a really, really good price. And this is 1990s price on there, and it was discounted because of the company I worked for on there. But also the regular pricing wasn't that expensive. Plenty of other hotels, and they ranked in variations from low end to high end. I think the highest end was the Marriott. When I stayed there, I think it was like $80 a night, and I think it went over $120 a night after a time period on there. I don't know if they're still around as far as that. But like I said, everywhere you were able to get to Disney from that, you were only minutes away. It was not that far, and return buses were running until 1 hour past park closing. So if the park, and that was back then when the parks closed late. So it's like, I think the last bus would leave about 1 a.m. As far as, if you needed to get back to your hotel on there. But that's what seems like we headed for as far as staying in the hotels. I mean, they're building a hotel right now. It's supposed to be a Starship Hotel, where it's supposed to be like you stay 3 nights there. It's going to cost you $3,000, but it's going to make it look like you're inside of a space, a shuttle or a spaceship or something of that nature at the Disney parks. And a lot more is being built. And how much more are they going to spend on this park? I mean, they need to go back and start checking on everything else to make sure everything is running okay. I mean, from time to time you see rides break down, which is normal. Rides do break down. That is a normal thought that happens to any amusement park throughout the world. You get it, they repair it, get it back up online. I mean, I know many times when I used to go to Disney, there used to be a big sign. This ride was down, that ride was down, this show was not available. And they tell you directly that, it's not operating. But, when it comes to this, I mean, this is a big problem. And, how much more are we going to get out of this with Disney? How many more problems before they sit back and says, something, we need to halt everything and figure out what are we doing wrong? Before they, God forbidding, before there are fatalities. You don't need that on your record. And you're hoping that your other divisions, like I said, you hope the Disney Plus site will be operating properly when it goes online. I mean, they're spending a lot of money into that as well. And there's some controversy on it too, because basically they're not allowing Netflix to advertise on certain channels that are owned by Disney. That's another situation in itself. I mean, it's just gone crazy. I mean, Disney's gone crazy. I mean, maybe they need to go back and get the Disney family back, back in front as CEOs, running the company once again. Maybe it needs to it needs that Disney family touch again, because it's a saddening thing, and especially when people are not going like they used to. Don't take it from me. You could check with your local ticket agents and stuff like that, and they have said the bookings are down for November and December. They are down. And November, December, especially December. December is one of their highest number periods. I mean, they expect more that time period than in the summer. So it's we got to see what is going to be happening from this point on. So comment below. Tell me what you think of this whole situation, because I'm telling you, this is a problem. To be stuck 3 hours up in the air, and not know why this happened, we're going to have to keep monitoring this. There's a lot else going on throughout. We are still looking at some videos that the Ricada streamed from over the weekend, because there was a lot of craziness over the weekend. We're trying to put down figures on what the Vic Mignogna case, what direction it's going to next, which most likely it's going to go to appeal. From my interpretation of the situation, I think it's going to go to appeals. But we'll discuss that in another episode. There was something else with Ricada and another YouTuber, MBA. Insanity that happened over the weekend, and I think it's just clearing up now. We also had New York Comic Con. There was a lot of big and small announcements on there. I think the Walking Dead was one of the big things on there. In fact, the season premiere was on last night, which was okay. It was an okay episode. I did enjoy it. It wasn't to the part of the way they were saying it, but like I said, I took it from one direction. Also, speaking of the Walking Dead and AMC, watching the second episode of Creep Show, fantastically done. Once again, I do recommend watch it. The first episode is very good. Second episode has a good premise on there. In fact, a lot of Easter eggs leading back to some classic horror films, which are sort of given homage to the first episode on there, which is a great werewolf episode. Not to give too much away on there, but it is a werewolf episode, and it was done very well done. But I would have to say, if you watch the Creep Show, pay attention. There are a lot of Easter eggs. I have to go back to the first one again to catch some of the Easter eggs from there. Second one, there was plenty of them on both episodes. The second one, The Finger, great done. Great concept. Greg Nicotero, he's got it fixed. This is going to be very successful. Also, there's let's see, Big Mouth. We had a premiere. I've watched the first 2 episodes, and that was crazy. Also, the last South Park episode, we just found out it got banned in China. Holy crap, because they did a whole China episode on there. So basically, it's been banned in China. And there's a lot of stuff else going on there. Like I said, there's New York Comic Con. There's some trailers on there. The Batwoman series was on yesterday as well, and some people have seen it and they said it wasn't that good. That was actually the word was awful on there. The acting was awful, surprisingly, for the woman that basically is playing Batwoman, and she happens to be a very good actress. But But then again, this is what happens. This is what happens when you put your politics first before truly writing a story. And there's a lot of other things coming out we're going to be discussing this week. So, until the next video, we thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you haven't yet, hit that subscription button, hit that like, comment below. Thank you for tuning in to Man with a Show on QTCast TV.